Дорогі друзі,
Dear friends, after many logistic difficulties, it is my joy to invite to the stage Fikret Zendeli. He was born in Macedonia, but at the age of 10, he moved to Switzerland with his parents, and then he received education in engineering, business administration, and psychology. So, with just old golf and two personal computers, he moved to Skopje from Switzerland and he organized Brown Constructing and Designing Company. And he organized Social Friday, that's a partnership to serve the community. So we are thankful to the Swiss Embassy for making this possible, and I have opportunity to moderate this discussion. We'll talk to Fikret about the importance of architecture, architectors, and architects, and how business can be socially responsible in Switzerland, Macedonia, and Ukraine. This discussion will be in English, so this is your last reminder that you can pick up your headphones. They're covered with white.
Thanks a lot for the intro. I apologize for
Cover.
my delay. I hope you said anyway some nice words about my past and my person so far. I hope I can share some experience with you and my perspective of view actually about this topic we are going to speak about today. So thanks a lot for your time that I do appreciate, and I hope I will be able to give you something back for your time that you are presenting to me. So I'm looking forward to this conversation.
we are looking forward too. And thank you for joining us. The topic of this festival is Homes for Tomorrow. And I would like to start with maybe some personal observations. You were born in Macedonia and then lived in the Switzerland and then went back to Macedonia. Different homes where you lived, different homes that you experienced. So could you please tell maybe about some relation between you and this personal reality of home?
I think you forgot maybe also to mention completely different societies. I had the pleasure actually, or the luck to grow up, and the societies itself are also shaping our homes. And there are really very huge difference between these two different kind of homes. The quality of living, the quality of these homes between Macedonia, which I compare similar to Ukraine, what I can see so far, and Switzerland, which has a very high level of standards, including for living. And so, but both countries has their pluses and minuses. So I wouldn't say that, let's say in Macedonia everything is bad. There are some elements which are very positive as well there too. So yeah.
At some point, you made a decision to move from Switzerland to Macedonia. What was behind this decision? Why you decided to have your own architectural and construction practice back there?
You know, when you have that privilege to grow up in Switzerland, I mean, it's a world for itself, but in a way, it's also kind of a bubble. You get used to that bubble and everything, so your path is already made in a way. So you start your career at the age plus minus 20 years, and more or less you know your direction. And it was a personal decision, so I'm a person who love actually adventure, and the status quo is, for me at least, never a good one. So I want to challenge. And that was probably the main motivation why I wanted to try out, why I started actually from zero. And so far, I think we achieved to create a great quality in the service that we do provide as a company for a market that is extremely challenging, as the Swiss market. So confidence, adventure, a lot of elements actually that made me to go for this journey. It was not that much money. And I think it's very important also for you. I see a lot of young people here. So when you make some decisions connected to your future, don't be too much money driven. You should feel some passion for that, what you are going to do. And money shouldn't be the main driver for your decision. It will come anyway. If you do a good job, if you are good in your profession, if you love that what you do, money will come. It's a question of time. At least I believe so, and so far my own experience is confirming. By that I don't want to say that I have too much money, so don't kidnap me. It's not worth it. But yeah, you need to know what you want, and you need to feel passion and love for what you are doing, actually. I think that's the very most important thing, since, like for any one of us, our time here is limited. So we are only tourists with a visa. We don't know when it expires, so we should be very much aware of how we want to spend that time, actually, and how we want to use it and what for. So be aware of that. Money is important, but shouldn't be the most important thing for your decisions.
We decided to frame this conversation around the notion of responsibility, which is actually one of the buzzwords, which is often used in various discussions in various contexts. We think about our responsibility as members of society. We think about our responsibility as certain professionals in the certain field of knowledge and field of practice. I would like to talk a bit with you about this responsibility of constructor, engineer, and unpack this notion. Actually, who is responsible for what? And what are the limits of this responsibility? And does it have any expiration date, for instance? For how long should you be responsible?
Of course, we do have a huge responsibility because we are shaping the communities actually we are living in. So we are shaping space, and that space is done for the people, for the communities we are living in, and depends on our decisions. We can do it better or worse. So there are certain examples, probably here also, even very gray weather, but all around. So I can see a lot of less good examples regarding that in Skopje, for example, where they destroyed the completely center of that town. So while doing so, they wanted to build also history with architecture, to manipulate, to brainwash people. So I think architects, engineers, so professionals in that field, they have a huge responsibility. I think a lot of these professionals are not even aware of that responsibility that they do have, because a building or a space is going to stay there for 30, 40, 50 years, sometimes even much longer. So it's going to shape the future of our societies. And before we make some decisions, I think we should try to push a little bit more the interactions between us as professionals and the one that should use that space later on. And not just to make decisions with a certain level of arrogance and believing that we know everything already better because we are professionals. I don't believe in that. So we should try to include the locals, and we should try to include the customers that should use that space later on. Responsibility, in my opinion, never expire. So because, again, we are involved in a field that is going to last for many, many years. And you cannot just say that, okay, project is finished, my responsibility is over.
Maybe you can also map the actors who are involved in this field of responsibility, and how do you define the limits of your responsibility in this regard?
Of course, the depends on the project. Municipalities are one of the important players, architects, engineers, a lot of different professionals. For me, who is coming more from the engineering field, I think one of my responsibilities, for example, is what kind of materials are you going to use? How sustainable are these materials that you are going to use? Are you going to use some cheap material, so just to get a nice facade, or are you going to use some materials that are going to last for hopefully a very long time? So that you won't have to use resources all over every third, fourth, fifth year. So you have to think also a lot about the use afterwards when a project is finished, and the maintenance also of a project and construction itself. So not just to build it to look nice, but what's going to happen afterwards. So all these thoughts combined is part of the responsibility you have, and you have to make in advance, because once it's standing there, it's very difficult to make some changes, or it will cost a lot.
It's very important to think about responsibility in relation to time, because often we think that, okay, I'm responsible till I'm doing things, but then adding this extra layer of thinking how it will look like and how it will behave and how it will be used in 10, 50, 100 years probably. So it's also kind of imagination that you might imply in order to design this future as well, not only thinking only for today.
We are designing for customers, whoever that customer is. So, someone who is producing shoes, for example, they also think in advance for who they are going to produce these shoes and what for should they be used, which type of weather or not. And the same is also for construction and for almost any product, actually. We should think about the time after. So what should happen afterwards, and for who are we doing these things, and not just start doing something because one investor is calling and wants to earn a lot of money. Which, So we are shaping, we as professionals, I think, again, I repeat myself, but we do have a huge responsibility with our decisions, and we should be aware of that and hopefully make some smart decisions, surround ourselves with good people. Never be so arrogant to think that you know everything. It's impossible. So try to involve as many people, as good people as possible around you, and then hopefully make good decisions.
Maybe we can move further to the question of responsibility of business, as you mentioned, customers and this type of relations. And probably here we can also speak a bit about your initiative of Social Friday and the way how you came up with this idea and how this idea was developing in Skopje and then moved also to the West. Because we often think about transfer of ideas from West to the East. But in this case, it moved the other direction. So I also like to think about this type of initiative as a transfer of good idea. So please tell us about this initiative and how it's living.
So I'm giving a pre-warning actually, because once I start to speak about this initiative, I might lose myself and talk too much. So be prepared for that part. I think there is no direction for good ideas. I think it's not the direction only from west to east, the opposite way around, I think. And from the past, a lot of ideas went from more east to the west. So, and if I see the bigger picture, I believe that any of our actions do have influence also on our surrounding. As a business, we can, I think, not only expect to get and to make money actually, and just to take more and more, actually, from the society. By the way, the society, the people that are living in this society, they are also the customers of my business. So, if the society is not feeling good, how will they consume? How will they buy my product or service? And if only I have, and if I have much, but my surrounding doesn't have, what will happen? I think you had a case here with the president some years ago, who had to escape. And that's maybe in general one of the problems, that a lot of people who have a big influence actually are not aware of that influence and are not aware of that social responsibility that every one of us has actually. So you cannot only take, and business itself is also a body, is also part of one community. So you as a business, you cannot just consume from that community. So you should also be interested in which way ever to give back, not only through the design, but also to try, at least in the scope of your opportunities, to be involved in that community and to see spots and to discover spots how you can give back through so different activities, actually. Social Friday itself came up, the idea itself was born, so I stumbled across an article recently in 2017 that confirmed what the most of us already know, probably from own experience, at least I feel so. There was a survey, a research that confirmed Friday is the least productive time of the week. It was a research was done in England. And I was smiling, actually, while I read that article, because I really felt, yeah, I thought like, okay, probably in my office it's absolutely not different. So why are we not using that period of time in a more meaningful way for us as a company, but also for our community? And that's how it started. We got out, and shortly, it's about turning these unproductive hours into social good. Into an opportunity for me, for my team, and also for the surrounding to create more social awareness. Since I do believe that awareness is the spark plug for any change. I believe that only if you are aware of the need, you consider to make a contribution. So if you don't know that you have a problem, so if you are not aware that you have a problem, how will you solve it? So you need activities where people can interact, where people can get in contact with each other, where my employees, for example, get the chance to interact with the community during paid working hours, actually. And I think that's a very, very good start, and out of that, a lot of further things can develop and has developed already so far. So I think it's an amazing approach. We see now finally some results also abroad, but I'm very much aware that it won't solve this world's problems. There is no such simple recipe for converting this planet into paradise. It will never happen, so there are no such simple solutions. But we have to start somewhere, and again, awareness, responsibility, I think these are some key words. And in our scope of opportunities, we should try to contribute. We should not always point with the finger at somebody else. We should not always expect from somebody else to solve and to do things better. It starts with the government. We can not only rely that the governments will solve all the problems that are around. The challenges are too big, I think, even for them, even they have good intentions. It's almost impossible. The same also, if we are a small company, we cannot always point with the finger at the big players and say like, okay, Google should start to do something here, or Coca-Cola, or any other big brand, so, and then maybe we'll start to follow up. No. I think every one of us has some opportunities to try to contribute, and so we should try to use our time that is very limited in a meaningful way.
the book which was translated into Ukrainian recently, the book by Richard Sennett, it has quite similar idea behind the logic of small steps that you have to make in order to bring the desired future closer. And do not expect that someone will resolve all the problems, but it's also your actually responsibility, the word that is behind us, to do something.
Allow me to share just one experience out of many connected to this whole initiative. So last year in February 2020, we invited a group of children from an organization to go and play bowling with us. And there were around 40 children that are not so fortunate, actually, and less blessed than probably I was with the fact to grow up also in Switzerland. While the children had a lot of fun. So playing bowling, it was, for most of them, it was the first time. Playing bowling, having fun, have some food, so we had a great party there. I felt like shit, to be honest, while all that activity was ongoing, because I felt like a rich asshole. The main question was, what's going to change for these children after those few hours that we were spending together? And I think you can only notice that while you are there, while you see these faces, while you try to interact with the people that are trying to take care of the children, when you hear about their difficult conditions that they have, etc., etc. So activity was finished. It took us a few weeks, but these faces, I could, let's say, not really forget about these faces. And one idea that came up from that activity was, okay, how can we help them on a more longer term, actually? And we came up with an idea to donate a teacher for them, for that organization, so that we as a company would pay that teacher who would share knowledge with these children in a hope that on long term they will be able to benefit out of that. It's a very small step. It doesn't cost us really that much as a company. And maybe out of these 30 or 40 children that were there, maybe only one of them will have a benefit out of that teacher. But I do believe that it's worth it. And I do believe that if more people will come up with this mindset and will understand the dots that can be connected, I think we can achieve amazing things. So, yeah. It looks like fun while you are playing there bowling, but out of that playing, a lot of things can develop.
So it's not only about certain steps, it's also about sustainability and institutional thinking in terms of actually seeing the larger perspective and looking into the future. And if I may quote you, actually, one of the quotes from the Der Spiegel article that I found, actually, it is very related to the topic that we are talking today. So, quote by Fikret: "If there is a fire in the neighbor's house, I have to intervene, otherwise it will eventually burn my house too." So it's also about homes for tomorrow, about our common future, and our home not only as four walls and roof, but also our home in society, in other group of other people who are around us.
Look, if my house or if neighbor's house is burning, and I'm trying to do business, how will I do business if the neighbor's house is burning? How will I be able to focus on my business and to focus on innovation if the surrounding is not good? And who is responsible for the surrounding? The politicians alone? No, bullshit. Politicians are just a mirror of the society in a way, and we are part of that society. So we have to start somewhere with small steps. And if we also as a business are just taking from the community and from the society, and then we are surprised by social injustice, and then the neighborhood starts to burn, and then one day also my house will burn, then I have a problem.
thank you for this inspirational talk. And we hope that these ideas will also grow up, and we will maybe have some social Fridays here as well. And we will have a really short break, about 5 minutes or even less, and continue with the rest of our program. So thank you, Fikret, for this talk, and wish you all the best with your business and with less and less houses burning around.
I hope for every one of us. Once more, apologize for the delay in the beginning. It was my pleasure to share some of my thoughts with you, and I hope some of them were useful for you. And if you should have any questions, feel free to ask afterwards. I would love to chat with you. Enjoyed this great event. I think we need more of these kind of events like this one, where more awareness can be shaped. Thanks a lot, spasiba, and have a great day.